This is how your page of notes should be set up for 7-6 polynomials. What is a polynomial? In this tutorial video, we are going to discuss what a polynomial is and the different special names that you could describe a polynomial. And just a side note, polynomials are used for pyrotechnicians to create complex firework displays. I thought that was pretty interesting, and I'm going to see if I can look up a video of what the process is and how that's done. But we'll answer the question, what is a polynomial, throughout the video. Here are the many different vocabulary terms needed for this section, beginning with polynomials, and we're going to spend an entire day in class on Monday reviewing these terms and playing some games and some fun activities so we can help us remember the definition for all these terms. I just want to show you the terms one more time before we begin the lesson, so you know that we'll be using these terms throughout the lesson, and if you ever wonder what they mean, you can always refer to the activities or to your textbook to help you. One term that I definitely want to cover before we get into polynomials is monomials. Monomials is a number, a variable, or a product of numbers and variables. So remember, it could be a number like the number 5, or it could be a variable like the variable x, or it could be a product. Multiplication is for product. Multiplication of numbers and variables. So here are two examples. -7 multiplied by x multiplied by y, and 0.5 multiplied by x to the 4th power. So on the right hand side of the screen is actually things that are not monomials. So on the left hand side, these are monomials. And then we'll draw a line. And then on the right hand side, these are not monomials. And let's explain why these are not monomials. Well, these ones have these monomials, or excuse me, these are called expressions. They're not monomials. These expressions have negative exponents. They have a sum or difference, and they include division. So these are not monomials. They're just certain expressions that you can use to evaluate for different numbers. Now that we know what a monomial is, let's discuss what polynomials are. Monomial is a single variable or a single number or a product of a number and a variable. Polynomials make up a lot of monomials. Poly means many, to have many. Let me go ahead and underline that part of the word. So poly means many. So it's the sum and difference of many monomials. And I have an example for you on the screen. -4x squared plus 9x minus 16. This is an example of what a polynomial is. And it has a specific name, which we'll discuss on the next couple of slides. But this is an example of a polynomial in standard form. I'd like you to create your own polynomial. If you can give me that on a half sheet of paper, your own polynomial, then I can give you some extra credit points. So bring your own polynomial to class tomorrow. Name of polynomials can be based on highest numbered exponent. So if you look at the exponent of the term, you can determine what type of polynomial it is, and this is a special type of name. So we've been dealing with special types of polynomial all school year, and let's discuss a few now. So just a reminder, pause the video, write down all this information, and then play it when you're ready to follow along with me. So when you have a degree of 0, you're going to have a constant, and that is just going to be a number. Okay? So this actually is a degree 0. There's an invisible x to the 0 because x to 0 equals 1. And like we've always discussed in class, there are many 1s all over the place. So a number is just a constant. When you have an exponent of 1, you have a linear equation. And we use linear equations by graphing them and solving them in Chapter 5 and in Chapter 2. And so here's an example of a linear equation. Next, if you have a degree of 2, this is a special type of polynomial. It's called a quadratic. A quadratic, has a degree of 2, and notice the highest exponent is 2 here. And this is our example of a quadratic. We're going to be dealing a lot with quadratics in Chapter 8 and Chapter 9. So I really wanted to point out this special type of polynomial because you're going to become very familiar with quadratics. And then sometimes you may see this periodically throughout the next couple of chapters. If you have a degree of 3, that means the highest exponent is 3. If you have a degree of 3, it's going to be called a cubic polynomial. Okay, so we'll use these terms throughout the next 3 chapters. And I forgot one last thing. When you have a degree of 1 and the name is linear, I didn't point out the exponent. And there's the exponent of 1. I hope you noticed that before I had to point it out to you. You could also see how many terms are in a polynomial and give it a certain name. So these name of polynomials are based on the number of terms. And if you have a term of 1, this is called a monomial. And I gave you the definition for monomial in the beginning. And here's an example of what a monomial looks like. If you have 2 terms, that's what we call a binomial. And I've been using that word a little bit here and there. So now you should be a little familiar with it. It's going to have 2 terms. And notice they're connected with addition or subtraction. And the last one is a trinomial. And you can think of tricycle. A trinomial is going to have 3 terms. And here's an example of what a trinomial looks like. Alright, make sure you review these terms, review the terms that we discussed in class on Monday, and you should be fully prepared to deal with polynomials and quadratics and trinomials and monomials and all these specific names that we're going to have to use.